Okay. Hey, how's it going today, guys? This is Brian and Andy. We're back with a new show today. It's been a little while, so we're finally going to start getting this show rolling once and for all, right?
That's right. How's it going, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have a couple of topics we're going to talk about today. Andy, you want to get us started here and just discuss what we've been talking a lot about different things. What are you thinking today, man? What are we going to talk about?
Well, some of the questions I had come up with just in creating my listings lately was going to ask you about how you're going about making your titles and how you thought best to optimize those for keywords, yet also to highlight your selling points of your product.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about this earlier, and you kind of mentioned when you're making a listing
Mm-hmm.
and you're putting your keywords like in the title, let's say, should you forego putting in more keywords at the expense of something that you kind of need to describe the product? Was that accurate?
Yeah, I was thinking like if you have a feature or a benefit or an improvement to your product that the others don't have,
Right.
that I feel like if you don't list that improvement in the title, maybe it goes unrecognized by people that are just checking out the page of all the results. Um, but in order to put that in your title, you'd have to skimp on a lot of space that you
Sure.
could be using for keywords.
I think, and here's my opinion on that, and I've had the same thoughts. I think every new seller kind of has, and maybe even some seasoned sellers have as well. And I'm kind of that in between. I mean, I know a lot, but I think from the ones I've looked at, I've done a lot of research on competitors. Anytime they've skimped on the keywords and they've put in those differentiations you're talking about, what I've noticed is it hasn't hurt their sales. So I would highly recommend putting in those differentiations. Um, the thing is, what catches most people's eye anyway is your pictures. So if you can
Mhm.
kind of somehow put that in your infographics, like you mentioned before, infographics, I think that's going to be a lot more beneficial. Nobody likes to read anymore; they just want to see it, right? So I think if you can put that in your pictures, if you can put it in the title, if you're going to skip out on a few keywords, I really don't think it's going to kill your listing. As long as you
Mhm.
can get a good 10 keywords in there, I think you're going to be fine. You can put the rest in your bullet points, and I don't think that's going to have much of a negative effect, if at all. It might even be more
Right.
beneficial because you have that in your title. So I'm all
Sure.
for it as long as you get the main keywords. Like if you're going to do Christmas tree, you better have Christmas tree and trees and maybe ornaments. You better have the keywords in there, right?
Right. Sure.
So foregoing a few keywords to add that differentiation in, I would be all about that.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of highlights another point too that I've thought about a lot is the pictures and saying people don't like to read and of course I catch myself like I'm one of those people that reads the bullet points, but I read the first maybe the
Right.
capitalized or the highlighted section only. Uh,
Exactly. So those are the key ones right there. Yep.
right. So I've been trying to think of it as putting my bullet points in my pictures. So doing
Absolutely.
a lot of annotation in the pictures and things like that.
And I know, and this is something we were talking about earlier too. Should you put the on the front page? I know many people, and it's good to maybe put a little bit of a lifestyle picture incorporated with it, if you can do that tastefully and it doesn't look cheap.
Hmm.
Um, I know we talked about a product earlier. We can't mention what that product is, but because I'm still selling it, hopefully it's going to be a success. I'm actually at 11 sales today, which is great, but PPC's killing me right now. But anyway, so with that product, I do have some lifestyle pictures on the front pick, but I also have a very good picture on the front, so it seems to be selling it. I just changed it last night, and I went from like 3 sales to like 11. Now that might have just been coincidence. I don't know, but I feel like if you can incorporate maybe a little bit of lifestyle into it, it might be beneficial. But essentially, you just want a white background and you want the actual item because people typically know what they're looking for, unless you have a really oddball, off-the-wall item. And I think this
Yeah.
would sort of qualify for it, the one I'm talking about,
Hmm.
because people don't really know how to use it or what it's used for. So if it's really an odd item, there might be an exception. For the most part, though, if you're searching for a baseball, you know what a baseball looks like, right? Or if you're searching for a stocking or whatever you're looking for, you know what you're looking for. You don't need anything to explain the benefits either in your bullet points like we discussed or explain them maybe in your your capitals, or your title, and your infographics. I think the main picture, I'm back and forth on that. What do you think about that, Andy?
No, I think actually I had not, to be honest, I had not thought of the idea of incorporating kind of a lifestyle shot into that main picture. But for the particular product that we're talking about,
Yeah.
that is kind of a little bit of an oddball product. I really think it actually does what we mentioned about the titles. Like it
Right.
kind of shows its unique point in in that picture with the addition of the lifestyle shot.
Well, if you think about the other product that's successful, and we do know each other's products, right? So we're
Mhm.
familiar. Um, just between me and him, or you and I, Andy, um, the other product that does pretty successfully for me, that has a little bit of an element of a lifestyle picture, but it's obvious as to what it is, right?
Yep. Yep.
But
It's more obvious. Yeah.
it's very much obvious compared to the other thing. But
Mm-hmm.
there is a lifestyle kind of element too with the front page. If you think about what that is, I'm sure you can figure out what it is. But that's kind of important. It makes you stand out a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of a struggle point a little bit is trying to make just a simple white background picture. Like, I mean, other than having a cool angle and a high quality picture, how else can you make it really stand out from the others?
Right,
Uh,
because essentially that's what people are going to look at.
yeah.
They're going to click on it if it looks really cool, or they're going to skip it over. And what I've noticed is most people, like I do a little bit of drop shipping. I'm not very successful at it. I'm doing it more of as an experiment, I guess. Kind of a learning thing for me. The cool part is on Shopify. If anybody's ever done that, it shows you how many people visited on their mobile phones and how many people visited on their computers, and the large majority are visiting on their phones. So, when you're scrolling through your phone real quick, the big thing you see is a big picture. And if that catches your eye, you're going to click on it. And if it doesn't, you're going to just move on by. So,
Yeah.
think about how the attention span of people today, it's so fast and the people just fly through it. So think about that. Pictures are so important. And if you have a little bit of a lifestyle or something that makes it stand out a little bit, that's going to probably get you more clicks.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point too, actually, because the Shopify shows you that, but I think we've seen numbers on Amazon like mobile sales versus computer
Yes.
sales, and it's um, I want to say that it's not like hugely cell phone dominated, but it is the majority.
I think that's what most people are on.
Yeah.
Just it's so mobile today. It's just the way it's going, and
Well,
it's only going to get bigger.
and when I'm in this Amazon kind of frame of mind, we're doing our product research and we're talking with sourcing companies and Alibaba and all that.
Right.
We're always on our computer, at least doing research.
Right.
And so we're looking at this from the computer perspective, which is a little different than most people are seeing it. So
I would agree.
that's something else I need to do a better job of taking into account, especially like how much fewer listings are on the first page on a mobile versus a computer.
Yeah, it makes a big
Things like
difference. I,
that.
I noticed that today. We were talking about the product. We had an issue. Well, I had an issue with. So, a lesson to be learned here: if you get pictures off a manufacturer, make sure that you're exclusively getting those pictures, and then they're not giving them to everybody else too. Big mistake on my part. I was under the understanding they were exclusive. They were not. Somebody pretty much copied my listing, almost picture for picture, right?
Yeah,
Um,
they had. I mean, yeah, some of the same pictures in there. Yeah.
yeah, and I just launched, so now I'm competing with somebody who has my exact same pictures for the most part. Like 75% of the listings like the same. So it's really frustrating. Um, Kind of jumping off topic there, but that's what we're here for, just to talk about random topics. And it's not something you can do anything about. Manufacturer decides who gives pictures for what. But where was I going with that? Uh, I don't remember. The pictures.
Yeah. Well, I think the pictures are actually becoming increasingly important to me. Just kind of more, learning more of this process because
Right.
I do think. I mean, just realizing myself what I look at when I'm on Amazon, and like I said, I read the very front of those bullet points, and that's about it.
That's right. And
Um,
that's what most people do, right?
yeah, and for whatever reason, I actually do tend to scroll through every picture though. Like every picture
Yeah.
on that listing. If I click on the listing, I'm looking at all their pictures.
Well, think about it. I mean, Instagram, right? Snapchat, All these social media, where are they all going? They're going pictures, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like people don't want to think anymore. They
Right.
don't want to read, and that's fine. Now, if you're buying a big purchase, you're going to likely read it. If it's an expensive item, you're going to read about it, right? And
Yeah.
maybe once you really get interested, if you're like me, you're going to get on the listings, you're going to start reading. But what's going to catch you at first, what's probably going to decide between a few different items, is probably the pictures. So the pictures are so important. I know that's, we beat that into the ground, but it really is.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
where I was, go ahead.
it's just yeah, it's kind of I had a tough time deciding on pictures for my first listing, and I think you've kind of gone two different routes on your pictures for your listings
Yeah,
also.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and my first listing, which is supposed to be at Amazon in like a week and a half. So that
Right.
listing's already fully done. Like I had such a weird combination of a local professional photographer who I actually, took the product to and photographed alongside that person.
That's a great way to do it, though.
Uh,
You know.
but that person was not familiar with making infographics and things like that, so I had to
Yeah,
go, take those pictures to someone else and have that part done. And
that's a
um,
pain. You almost want somebody that can do it all. You want an Amazon photographer, right? Um,
exactly, yeah.
you want somebody
I'm
that knows the business that's going to be able to put that together.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
I'm really leaning toward actually being okay with paying a little more money for my photography and really just trying to knock that part of it out of the park,
I
and,
agree.
have that be the best part of my listing if I can.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, so we were talking about some other stuff, kind of different ways we were thinking. Just to real quick, we were talking about the mobile phone. You had mentioned that competitor we were talking about earlier was on like page one, but when I looked through my phone, it was on like like page five or something.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the funny part. It depends on where you're looking. You mentioned that. Depends on if you're looking on the phone or you're looking on the computer. Where your listing kind of falls. And a cool thing you can do once you get up there enough, when you change your PPC, you can immediately save it and refresh and go to the page and see if your listing jumped up. So you can almost place your. I was talking to somebody about this on Facebook. Um, I talked to a few people, help them out with some things, and they helped me out with some things. Frankly, it's a really great community on Paul's webpage, but or Facebook page. But you can actually see where your listing jumps to when you change your PPC bid, which is really cool because you
Okay.
can kind of go through every. You're really going to probably have maybe like 5 or 6 main key phrases or words that are going to sell most of your items. So you can
Hmm.
kind of go through and see where you're bidding for that day and kind of fit yourself in nicely right in the middle of the page.
Okay.
So
Hey,
that's kind of a neat tip.
speaking of PPC, since this is something you have experience with that I don't.
Yeah.
Um, I
Maybe.
know because I have some questions about PPC. I've got this long list of like phrase and exact and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
That I'm going to be using for my first round of PPC for
Yeah.
that first product.
Right.
You know, I understand the premise of you run all these words, you see which ones are profiting, which ones are costing you, and you're kind of
Right.
narrowing it down. Can you kind of tell me more about that process of like picking out which ones to actually go all in
Yeah.
on? And
It's very frustrating. I am by no means an expert. I have a lot of experience, but that doesn't mean I'm good at it necessarily.
Hmm.
Um, the way I've seen it from my experience, and I'm sure somebody more seasoned would be able to kind of correct, but let me just tell you my experience on it, and that's what I can give you. I can give you my experience. And I'm still learning when it comes to PPC. I do know a good bit, but I'm sure there's a ton I don't know. If anybody has anything to add, I'd love to hear it. So when I do PPC, you choose your first 50 phrases because that's kind of what we learned in Paul's course, right?
Yep.
The first 50 phrases, within a week or two, you're going to have a good idea of which phrases are working by the ACOS. What I tend to do after that first week, if I have anything over between $5 and $10 and I haven't gotten any sales off of it, I'm probably going to dramatically decrease that PPC, what I'm putting towards it. And if it continues to fail for me, if it's over $5 and continues to get me no sales, I mean, I've had one today. I looked at a keyword. I spent $15, $16 on it. It didn't get me not one sale. Okay, I'm done with that keyword. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was like a week and a half. So this new product I just launched, my A cost is like, on some words, it's like 80, 90%. Other words, it's like 4 or 5, but I only sold one item. So you really can't tell at that point. You're going to start seeing things pop out where you sold 20 items under one word and your A cost might be 15%. That's a winner. You know, you want to increase your bid and you want to pretty much win that one every time. Anything I'd say under 25, 20%, I like to see my A cost for my one item, it's at 16% for the life of it, which is amazing.
Okay.
But also,
Yeah.
that's through the holidays too. I probably have 5 or 6 key phrases that sell almost every product.
Okay.
So
Out of that 50, you've got that down to 5 or 6 that are
yeah, and I play with different words. I add some stuff here and there. I like to go in competitors' listings and grab their keywords through
right.
Jungle Scout,
Right.
and I'll add some new ones in just to try them out. But I've pretty much nailed it on the one product, which is great because here's the great part: if you decide to launch another product in that same category, you don't have to go and do the research again. You don't have to spend a ton of money figuring out which words work and which words don't. You have the keywords. All you have to do is plug it in and let it run. So that's tremendous. It's going to save you a ton of money. That's why when you talk about building a brand, you want to make sure that you build a brand within the same niche because you know the niche well, you know the keywords well. You have a huge advantage there already. You have to consider that. So that's been a huge experience there that you know the market, you know how competitive it is, and you know what to bid on.
Yeah.
Now, broad wise, you mentioned like on broad listings, I've
Hmm.
just started messing around with that on this new listing, and my broad campaign is crushing it compared to my phrase campaign. My phrase campaign is
Wow.
terrible. So I've gotten rid of my phrase campaign altogether, and I'm just using broad campaign.
On your newest product?
Yeah, because
Wow. Okay.
I'm doing like 30 to 40% on my broad. My I ran the new one for like a week, the phrase, and I was at like 80% A cost. It was ridiculous. So
Wow. Okay.
I did make adjustments. I still run it, but the big words I needed to win, they're like $2.50 to win one click. And you
Oh
can imagine
wow.
how fast your budget goes. So you have to look
Yeah.
for the smaller keywords that people will buy it with that sell. And it just happens to be that the broad's killing it. I usually run a 20, 22 word broad campaign, and it's been crushing it. Compared compared to the phrase. It's not doing great, but it's doing
Hmm.
much better.
Okay, that's really cool. Yeah, I'm not all that familiar with the broad. I think I've just been going off kind of what Paul has been saying, and
Right, right.
yeah, I've got those. I've got a list of like 260 or something like that, uh,
Well, never
but I'm
run a
narrowing it
campaign
to
with more
about
than
50.
50. It doesn't tend to work very well.
Oh, I
So,
know. Yeah, I'm just going with the 50, but
right.
the list on my Google sheet is like 260 or something,
Well,
and then
it's an evolving process, man. It's going to
yeah.
take some time. You're going to have to spend a lot of money. The thing about it is, what's really cool, they just incorporated this within a month or two ago, is is Amazon tells you the phrase you're looking for now. So they never did that before. They tell you what customers are actually typing in and searching for, and that is huge because if you find that there's 5 sales off of something a customer is searching for, well then add that into your phrases and your keywords,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
that's a huge advantage that Amazon didn't have before that they've added in that really helps the sellers out.
And that's just right on your like selling report, or
You'll see it under your campaign. You can click
yeah.
on it. It says search terms, I think, and it'll show every search term that got a click for you and whether or not they bought.
Okay. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
So
it's very cool.
you can see every click, how many clicks, then how many buys, how many clicked off, stuff like that.
In addition to that, if you run an auto campaign, I like to run an auto and a manual, which most people do. You can run a report and it'll come up in Excel and it'll tell you every keyword that was searched for as well. And that makes it easy to break down because as you know in Excel, you can put it in whatever order you want, however you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have
Okay.
that advantage. I would run an auto campaign for a week, even though you're losing money, just to see what the good keywords are. And that's
Right.
how I found some of my biggest keywords for my products.
Okay. Have you right now on, especially on your new product, are you doing anything outside of Amazon to drive sales to that product?
I love to talk about this because I'm talking to a gentleman named Mike, and I don't want to give too much detail. I've been on Facebook Messenger, and he's been talking about, I guess he used to do this. I'm not sure if he did it for a living. He used to do like and I'm probably gonna butcher this, guys. I'm not a marketing genius or anything. SEO, I guess that's
Hmm.
like driving through Google keywords,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
he's done Facebook groups and Instagram groups. What there's this guy, this kid, Bethesda, or what the heck is his name? He does drop shipping. Have you ever come across him before?
I don't think so.
If he ever sees this video, he'll probably laugh at the name I just butchered. But anyway, he does drop shipping, right? So he does. I'm not sure how he does it. I almost wanted to buy his drop shipping course. Like this is how enticed I am. It's like $300 course, right? And I just don't want to drop the money on that. But he talks about how you can like create a video and you can like advertise on Instagram under a certain group. So you can find like a group that has like 100,000 users, and you can make a video and you can advertise on the top of his page, and you can get a ton of views that way, right? Like you can sell a ton of product drop shipping like that. I'm assuming you can do the same through Amazon. Um, so yeah, I am trying to drive through my drop shipping site to Amazon, um,
Hmm.
and my Facebook page to Amazon. However, my business page, not my main page. But I'm not very successful at it. I don't really know how to do it. His point was you could use a Facebook group. Let's say you find a Facebook group full of 100,000 users, right? If you
Hmm.
can pay them to get your ad on there, you're getting yourself in front of 100,000 users for how cheap? Maybe it's $100, right? That is
Hmm.
way more efficient than per click. So that
Right.
was his point. Now, how exactly to do that, I don't know. I wish I did. I'm still
Yeah.
trying to figure it out because that could be huge, I think.
Yeah. Well, this may be a bad example, but like one Facebook group that I'm a member of just for fun is this just a group of a bunch of golfers. Um, and
Yeah.
we just like, trade, we just basically buy and sell golfing equipment and
Well, that
stuff and
would be
just talk
perfect
golf
if
or
you were selling
whatever.
a golf product. Yeah.
Yeah. So it actually has like, I want to say it's like a dozen or so people that are like sponsors of that page. And it's like a quarter million people in this group.
Right. There you go.
Um, and
Perfect.
you can I have never priced this out because I'm not selling a golf product, but
Right.
you can pay to be one of those like title sponsors, and
Yeah.
you have posts in there, and then like the banner image for the whole group is like the 12 sponsors,
Yeah. There you go.
stuff like that.
That's what I'm talking about. So you got to
Yeah.
find one of those groups that's related to your product,
Yeah.
and you've got to pay to get on that group, and that can bring you in 100,000 users that can see your product all at once, versus trying to pay for a Facebook or an Instagram ad that may get to 3,000 people, and you're going to spend $50. I mean, you know, in my opinion, nothing beats Amazon for advertising because people are searching for, and I'm going to use a Christmas tree because I'm still looking at mine. We haven't taken it down yet, unfortunately. But let's say you're looking for a Christmas tree. Well, you're looking for a Christmas tree on Amazon. Why would you advertise on Facebook when they're searching on Amazon? Amazon sells out one out of every two sales online, and they're searching on Amazon for Christmas tree. You want to advertise on Amazon.
Yeah.
That only makes sense. Now, if you can, however, if you can get your product in front of a group of a couple 100,000 people or 100,000 people for $100, then that's pretty cheap, and that's going to be well worth it if it drives 10, 20, 30 sales to you right there, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think it could be huge. I don't know how to do it. If anybody has information, please message me or is willing to help. I know Mike, the person I talked to on Facebook, says he knows how to do it, but I literally need somebody to hold my hand and walk me through. I mean,
Right.
to me, that's very confusing because he's confused about PPC, and I'm laughing because I think PPC is easy compared to doing all that stuff. So I just
Yeah.
don't know where to begin, right?
Right. Yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge on the Facebook marketing, like you've already kind of dabbled in a little
A
bit,
little bit.
and
Yeah,
that's
not very successful. I made one sale, one.
right, right. Yeah, mine was for a product that wasn't even available yet. It was to basically build some followers for a page. So,
Right.
um,
Still,
yeah, it's
I
an
mean,
easy way to spend a lot of money. I know that.
you get that right, and so is Amazon. I've spent over $5,000 on advertising, but I've made over 20,000 some in sales, and then you've got to figure the organic sales too. So the one product that's been my major success
Hmm.
has I just checked the other day, and I was out of stock for a good while. So in about 2.5 months, granted it's Christmas season, it was over 40,000 in sales. So you can really do well because a lot of them are going to be organic after you get listed up top. PPC won't be everything at that point. You could just turn your PPC off and sell. But if you're under 20-25% ACOS, you're going to want to use it because you're still making money. Unless your margins are so bad, you're not making money, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Depends on what your margin is. But
yeah. So maybe for some people, break the ACOS down thing a little better for me real quick. So just an example, if your ACOS is 20%, but before any PPC, just after actually buying the product, the cost of the goods, and then the Amazon fee and the referral fee, if your margin's 30%, and then your ACOS is 20%, are you're making 10?
I don't usually go by all that, so I try to keep it simple. So if I paid $10 for the item, and I'm making $10 per sale, I'm getting 100% return on my investment. However, what I'm not factoring in is storage fees. And now I'm not worrying about the referral fees and all that because I'm talking about my return after that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it gets more complicated when you try to add in all that stuff and you try to figure out your margins for what you're selling it for. Why make it complicated?
Sure.
I worry about my return on investment. If I'm spending 10 and I'm getting 10 in return for every sale, I have 100% return on my investment. That is good. Now, if you start factoring in ACOS, right? I mean, if I'm at 25% and I'm selling it for $40 and I'm getting 10 of that, so 25%, right? That's $10 of 40. I don't want to be over 25 or I'm losing money, but then you got to figure the storage fees and returns. There's a couple other things in there. So I like to be, frankly, at 17, 18% or lower to make sure I'm making money, and preferably even better than that. But most of my sales are going to come organically at that point. So even though my ACOS is 13, 14, 15%, I'm making money on those sales anyway, and it's still promoting my product to the top of the page. So I like to see 20% at the very most. If it's not 20% after a few weeks, I'm going to start lowering my bid dramatically.
Yeah, yeah.
Usually 30% at a time. I'll lower the bid where I can still win, but in theory, let's say you have a 50% ACOS and your bid's 50 cents, right? And that just happens to be the winning bid. Wouldn't that be nice on a word, which is very rare, right? Usually like $1. So let's say you lower that. Well, let's take $1. Let's say it's $1. You lower that by 50 cents. In theory, your ACOS should really go down to 25%. It just depends on the ones you win. Now, you're going to win much less bids, though. Or you may not win any more bids if it's so far below the average bid. But if you do win one, your ACOS should really go down by half, if you look at it that way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The math works out that way. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really great that you're actually sharing some of your raw numbers on here, because I think a lot of people, myself included, are a little bit intimidated by the potential spending of PPC. So.
It's I heard somebody, I was watching a video the other day, and they were saying, like, if you're going to do private label, and they might have just been BS, and I'm not sure where they were getting this from, they said you're going to be unprofitable for the first 2 orders. And that's not completely far from the truth. You're going to be unprofitable probably for your whole first order. Or maybe very little, if anything, if any profit at all. You may lose money on your first order or 2. Now, if you're ordering 250 to 500 units, that's frustrating to lose money on that. But if you're going to it's so competitive today that I almost feel like there's going to be exceptions to that. You're going to get some products that will just take off, some that will flop. But you're going to be unprofitable for your first 2 orders. That's a lot to take. That's a hard pill to swallow, because if you're starting with one product, it might be 5 or 6 months before you're being successful. I mean, how frustrating is that?
Yeah.
So it's changing. The market's changing dramatically, I think.
Right. Well, and I think a lot of the people that are trying to get into this, have a goal of, launching a second and third and fourth product.
Sure.
And, it's hard to do that when you are unprofitable for that first,
Yes.
maybe few months or whatever it is.
That's right.
Because you're not going to have any money coming in to reinvest into that second product or anything.
Right. Cash flow becomes an issue.
Right.
And if you don't have the cash flow, it's going to be a problem. Now, I know there's a lot of talk. You can start a business really cheap. This is not a get-rich scheme by any means. And I've gotten some questions. We talked about this earlier. You get a question like, and I mentioned, like, how do I send my products into Amazon? Like, if you're asking me that question, and we're not trying to be rude like, and I know we talked about that. Like, you have not even put in any effort at all. Like, that's such an open-ended question. You have to read and do some research on your own. This is not something, and I mentioned you can't push the easy button and become rich. It's just not going to happen, right? You
Right.
have to put in the work every single day. You're going to have to work harder than you ever worked. And if you think it's easy and you're just going to get rich and you're going to come up with some little bundle or different, think again. You know, I failed multiple times. Uh, and this next product I'm launching now, it might be a failure too. I don't know. It's hard, and it's not going to just come so easy. And if it came easy on the first product, you probably had a certain element of luck, and you're probably going to have struggles on your future products in some cases. You know, if
Yeah.
not, God bless you. You're a miracle worker. So, you know.
No, I think that's great to point out because we did talk about that earlier, and a lot of people seem to think they want to put in 5 minutes of work and then have the money start coming in. Um, but
No way.
it's a ton of work, and you know, um, I don't think I met you before you had actually launched into Amazon. I think for you it was the other way around. I had not launched anything when we met and started talking.
Right.
Um, but this has been, I know I mentioned earlier my product will be there in about 10 days. Um, and
Anxious time.
yeah, and that's my first
Yeah,
product, and I've been actually working on this for a few months.
it's
Um,
exciting.
and it's been hard, even like we talk about a lot, like
Yeah.
even just the staying up late at night to deal with your suppliers when you got to be at work at 5 o'clock the next
So
morning.
many
And
nights I've done that. I can't even tell you.
yeah, I mean, it's like every day I want to go to bed at 9, but we know we got to handle some business, while they're working. So
Yep. If you want to do this full time someday, you have to put in all the work. You have to put in more hours than you put in at work, probably. Now,
yeah,
there is a certain passive moment where you kind of hit it and you're just making money if you have a successful product, but there's so much work to get there. Like, if I went out and worked for as much time as I spent on this at a second job, like, I would have so much more money in my pocket. So, you know what I mean? In the long term, though, I'm trying to build a business, you know? But if I just wanted money, you'd be much better off just going to get a part-time job. Trust me.
yeah. Well, the short term reward would be there for that. But yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So, in short, it's not a get-rich scheme. It used to be a lot easier, and I know a lot of people are talking about how the landscape's changing. So many people are using the same software. We're all finding the same products, and then once you get differentiation out there, somebody has it out there within weeks. It's very frustrating.
mm,
Um, you have to start thinking outside the box, and I think that's what we were talking about earlier. You know, maybe going with stuff that's not even a niche at all. Basic products that nobody even thinks to sell, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
or bigger items that people aren't. Everybody's looking for a small item, right? That you're going to be able to ship over cheaply and start cheap. You know, those are hard to make it with today. There's so much competition. You've
mm,
really got to maybe think bigger, go a bigger item because people aren't really doing that. You got to start thinking outside the box even more now.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I think we did a lot of talking about the real simple items today, and for some reason, these super simple things tend to get really overlooked.
Yeah, we talked about the numbers too, right?
Great numbers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it could be a product that makes you 30, $40 a day. But hey, that's every day. That if you have 5 of those, you could probably quit your job unless you're making buku bucks. You're probably not trying to do this for a living,
Right,
you
right,
know?
yeah, yeah. No, if I had 5 or 6 making 50, 40 or $50 a day, that'd be quite all right.
Oh, you'd be fine. You'd
Yeah.
be big
Uh,
time.
well, Brian, what do you think? That sounds like a good deal for tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So please like and subscribe to the page, guys. We're still just getting started out. We're going to be doing this regularly. That is the plan. If you have any questions or any comments, we'd appreciate it. Put them in, into the channel. We'd really appreciate that, guys. And please hit us up if you have anything you want us to talk about in the future.
Yep. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Hmm. Thanks,
All
Brian.
right. Stop.